Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is so good to see all of you here today. This is a great day to be in Bolivar. A great venue, too. Kudos. I tell you, Brass, this is absolutely incredible. This is just takes you back in time. So thank you for hosting us here. Thank you for the use of this space, Mr. Brad. We really appreciate it. Governor, thank you for being here. Elected officials, I'm going to get to several of you all later, but thank you all for being here. Most importantly, all of our distinguished guests, thank you for being here. Welcome. Today is a day of celebration. We get to celebrate an incredibly impactful piece of legislation that we're going to have a bill signing here today. And it deals with redevelopment of blighted properties, brownfield properties. And in this regard, I'll introduce myself real quick. My name is Craig Young. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of TDEC. And what TDEC tries to do in this space is we try not to just be the regulatory entity that handles a bunch of environmental regulations. What we also like to try to do, and the governor has told us to do, is to be a resource for communities across the state. The first executive order that Governor Lee signed was directing all of us to look for opportunities to help rural disadvantaged communities. And so we have been doing that. And this legislation is a shining example, a capstone of how we can do that. It's also a great example of finding a balance between preserving and protecting what is uniquely Tennessee, but at the same time fostering economic success and development. And so we are trying to do that all across the state, and I mean all across the state. We look to provide those resources, assistance, and support, whether it's state park programs or grant programs that we have at TDEC. It is truly a whole of government, one Tennessee approach that we take. And this is incredibly rewarding for us, and thank you for allowing us to be a part of your community today to celebrate this. Speaking of this community and Bolivar, it's so great to see my friend Mayor McTizick. I thank you for putting up with me on some of the panels that we've been on talking about this effort and the benefit of brownfields. And so you've got a good one. He is not only a leader locally, he's a leader statewide and even nationally through some of the CPA work. So kudos to you. And with that, Mayor, I'd like to yield the microphone. I will sit up here and drone on all the time, but let me take a back seat, and why don't you come up here and say a few words, if you will.
All right, we're excited to be here. Y'all give applause, but look, we can do a little better than that. I know y'all the governor said we had a good crowd, but I don't think any of y'all came for me. Y'all probably came for he was coming. Governor, they usually don't dress like this on Friday. And so, look, I want to say first, just thank you. The time that I stand here today, I just want to say thank you to everyone that comes together to make this happen. I know I'm probably leave some people out, but there's a few people I do want to thank. First, I'd like to say thank you so much, Governor, for taking the time to thank us to do the bill signing here and what you're doing with your leadership across the state and what you're doing for our rural communities. We really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much for that. The team at TDEC, I'll say this to the commissioner, I joke with him a lot. When I first got elected, America, it's about 6 years ago now, a little over 6 years. It's two entities that you do not want to deal with. The comptroller is one. The comptroller always say it's better to call the comptroller before the comptroller calls you. So you don't want to deal with them. The next group is TDEC. I'm sorry, I've been with the commissioner all the time. If you have a vision to do anything outdoors, anything with the environmental part of the world, you do not call them out. The streets and sanitation supervisor says always better to ask for forgiveness and permission. Today you changing that, okay? So I'm going to do one of my favorite categories. Thank you to the commissioner and your team for everything that you do for us. We've been on a lot of Zoom calls through this whole process. We got a long way to go, but this is a great start. Our state legislator, Representative Shaw, y'all can give him a hand out. He served us. Is not here, so we got Senator in his place, his son Blake Waller. Thank you so much, Blake, for coming to Senator Waller's place, as well as our county mayor. Stand up, Ty. I love to see you. Don't grab me good, Ty. Stand up. It's always a fun time working with him. And we have some other community partners. If you're a county employees, a county elected official, if y'all will raise your hand, I saw Josh and some of our other elected officials and commissioners, and thank y'all so much. My team that I get to work with, our city employees, our city council, some of them there, Councilman Williams, Councilman Lau, Councilman Golden. I don't think I missed any of some of them out to work. And yeah, I'm gonna get to Brad in a minute. And our vice mayor is great. She's surrounded, and I got you. I don't think I missed any of the council. I'm pretty sure I get in trouble for calling names out there. But look, all of them, and I'll say, I got the best, around close to about 100 employees. I don't care who's the mayor, I don't care who's the governor, who's the president. If you don't have a good team working around you, you're not going to be successful. That's right. I can stand there and say the Bolivar is successful moving forward because of the city employees and the people that give back, the policemen, the office staff, the firemen. So y'all give a big round of applause. Yeah. I do want to recognize that I'm retired. This process started, it didn't just start today. We started this process years ago. And Curtis Stack, our Parks and Rec director, we spent a lot of time walking through the old Tannery building. I was scared that something was going to fall out the sky, because you literally can look up and see the sky. Curtis Stack and Ms. Kathy Mayfield, I will be remiss not to mention both of them. They did a whole lot of work helping us make this process happen. We applied for grants with EPA multiple times, didn't get it, and then we kept going and kept going. So they're not here, but I want to just commend them for it. So y'all give them a round of applause. Y'all, is this not gorgeous? I mean, we're in downtown Bolivar, and this is ours. This is Delco, downtown Bolivar, city of Bolivar. Brad, your team, thanks. He opened the doors and make it all happen for us. So if y'all give them a round of applause. All right, so I'm pretty sure I missed someone, so you can fuss at me out. All right, so I do want to mention my wife. She couldn't come, so evidently it made it sound just a lot more important than being here. So I say I love her and thanks for her support. But I'd say how we got here today, I have no clue. I'm still excited about the opportunity. When we first got the call, I don't know who it was that reached out. It might have been Paula. Hey, Paula. And she said, hey, the governor's going to build something he wants to do it in Bolivar. I'll tell you, I'm like, first question was why? I mean, come here for. So I was so excited. But look, y'all, we have something to be proud of. Things happen in timing. You have real time, 24 hours. If I say in a couple of days we're going to have this done, maybe in a couple of weeks, you'll think in 2 weeks something is going to happen, right? When you have real time, then you have government time. Government time does not work on the same amount of time as real time does. The government will say we're going to do something today. We're going to do this assignment. I asked the governor if he actually brought that $600,000 in. He said he did not. So by the time we get through the contracts and all that, it's probably going to be a couple of years. But it's happening, okay? But I would say they have streamlined the process a lot more, so hopefully they can fast forward. But when we started talking about the Tannery and what we could do and look at this as an opportunity to develop and what we can turn something as an eyesore into, everybody locally was like, you don't leave it alone, you have no clue what's going to happen. I said, look, we're just going to try and see. Let's make some phone calls. I was in Nashville one day, Representative Shaw, I mentioned it to him, and he called Ms. Blair. I don't know where she came from. Like, she got from the help in like 5 minutes. She just popped up, and she introduced me to Steve, the commissioner, and we started talking. I said, look, if you promise me, if we take over this Tannery, we will not go to jail, and like, I won't be on the front page. And she promised me I would, and so far it's going good. So we talked about it, and when we started looking at it's easy to look at a brownfield as something that, you know, we just look away from, ignore it, and it'll go away. I'll be here to tell you, it's not going away. Until we do something with it, it's just going to sit there, and it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse. It's one of the things I talk about timing. I was doing some printing, last minute mayor is what they always call it, but I came across this article. I want to show you this. Tomorrow will be 36 years, it's September 16th, 1987, so I will say this is God's timing that I stand here today. This article says Amir will be closing down plant next month. 36 years, I told Lisa when my office staff, I was a year old. They announced in the Bolivar Bulletin that the plant hammer will be closing. So I'm excited that 36 years, hopefully, I don't know if this front page news is not there, or maybe it will be, that we can hold up an article that's saying that what closed 36 years ago was a sad day in Bolivar. A lot of people lost their jobs. It was a day of doom, sorrow, sadness. Will be 36 years later a day of excitement and happiness and joy that we can take something that was once something that we was proud of, that made a living for a lot of people in our community, put that back in our community, and we can benefit from that. So, y'all, let's, if you would, let's give God a hand and everything that I did not know this. 1979 statistics say 50% of the leather shoes were made right here in Bolivar, Tennessee. Wow, is that not amazing? So 50% of the shoes made in this country were made in Bolivar, Tennessee. So as I go to my seat, I want to say thank you again to the governor and what he's done. When you presented your state address, if you've ever been to any of those that you see, it can get controversial when you have half the party standing up, the other half stands. Every once in a while, everyone stands. Well, when he mentioned the Brownfield Redevelopment Act, I had a group of Southwest Tennessee mayors with me, and I started to slow flat real hard, and they looked at me like, what's so excited about Brownfield? I said, you may not have 100 and something odd acres in your backyard that has become an eyesore, but I do, and I'm looking forward to the money that he's put into the budget to help us clean that up, because we couldn't do it locally without us. So thank you so much. I'm excited about it, looking forward to it. Y'all, we got a lot of things to be proud of. It's going to be another great day in Bolivar soon, so thank y'all again.
That should make everybody feel good, including me. Before we go on, I'd like to recognize the sponsors of the legislation who could not be here today. They send their regrets, but Representative Ron Gant, the House sponsor, and Senator Paul Rose, the Senate sponsor. We do greatly appreciate their partnership in the General Assembly in sponsoring this. But now I have the distinct privilege of introducing Representative Johnny Shaw. Bolivar is in his district, and we are honored by his presence today. We look forward to hearing. If you don't mind coming up and saying a few words, sir, please.
Well, good evening, everybody. And let me take a moment to thank all of you for being here. And Governor, thank you. I want to thank you personally because ever since Governor Lee has been in office, his focus has been where I have never seen the state's focus before, and that's on rural West Tennessee. We've been left out in the rural areas of Tennessee for so many years. Every project can come up. It's about Knoxville, it's about Memphis, it's about Nashville. But this governor has put his main focus on rural West, not just West Tennessee, but Tennessee as a whole. In fact, I would go so far to say that even Blue Oval was a development that come for rural Tennessee. So Governor, thank you so much. And I also want to thank the commission because for this group, the environmental group, they've been such a wonderful group to work with over the years. And while Junior, the mayor, thought they were some bad folks, they really and I want to thank all of you in the department for being here today. And I guess, Governor, you see now why I enjoy the legislature so much and why I stayed so long, because I really do enjoy representing the people in Bolivar and Hardeman County. These folks are jewels. I've enjoyed it, And I thank you all for being here today. And I'm excited about what's about to happen because we're about to do something that I've been waiting for a long time. So thank you all for having me today. Thank you.
Very good, y'all. All right, let's, another important partner we have in the General Assembly is Senator Paige Wally. Unfortunately, Senator Wally could not be here today, but he did send the one and only Blake Wally, who happens to be a nearby city manager. Blake, can you come up and say a few words for us, please?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Blake Wally. Happy to be here today on behalf of my father, Paige, Senator Wally, and I am the city manager in Savannah, but I did grow up here for quite some period of time. So it's nice to get to return to the area, get to return to this building. I've not been in this building since I think I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old. So we're here talking about investments in communities. This is what we're sitting in right now. So just amazed to see it. Mr. Grant, I appreciate your investment working this too with the city of Bolivar for investing in it. And Governor Lee, I want to thank you for being here today too for the signing of Bolivar Brownfield Investment Act. While we got brownfields all across this state, I want to applaud Mayor Tizzett and the city of Bolivar for recognizing the vision and seeing what they got in their own backyard. A lot of these areas, these blighted areas, we just forgotten about. It's amazing when a community come together, see the assets they have and what may be written off to others to invest in. And I want to thank you, Governor, and the General Assembly for making these redevelopment efforts obtainable for our local communities. Mayor Tizzett, Sand Beach Lake, I want to say congratulations on receiving your LPRF grant to assist in completion of Phase 2, which will, from my understanding, will have an amphitheater, stage, a boat ramp, and pavilions and other amenities that other rural communities do not always get to have in the backyard. That is an amazing investment, and I applaud you on that. So again, Governor Lee, Commissioner Salyers, Senator Rhodes, Representative Shaw, Representative Gant, if you could not be here, I understand, but and Mayor Tizzett and Mayor Post, thank you. Thank you for being here too, representing Harvey County the way you do. Thank you for your leadership, continued investments in Bolivar, Harvey County, rural West Tennessee, and the entire state of Tennessee.
All right, without further ado, I'm going to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, the guy that puts up with me from a day to day. He's my boss, the one and only Commissioner David Salyers.
Know what that entails, so every day. Right now. This we got to talk. I think once control remote power gets back, we can come down and look at some of those forgiveness. But thank you, Greg. And it's not always easy to make real progress in government for our communities. And it takes leadership, commitment, and vision. It also helps me bring the kind of passion Mayor Tizzett brings to this community, and he's just demonstrated. So I'm looking past the forgiveness stuff. You're forgiven. But I do salute you and the city of Bolivar for the vision that y'all had to make these things happen. I mean, Brad, my gosh, this is awesome. I'm coming down Friday night next Friday night for a movie against the popcorn. So, but you know, the fact that Bolivar can see the potential for the tannery and take the effort and take the time and work through that process to make that happen, and realize how an old, dilapidated industry could be revitalized and just rejuvenate a community. So it's very exciting. And really, special respect and willingness to work with TDEC and EPA seeking assistance and funding, and for the site evaluation to determine the best approach to clean it up. And it's certainly not easy for local officials to embrace the unknown and to charge ahead. And Blair, thanks for giving him the clearance that he would not go to jail and be on the front page. Yeah, I didn't know legislative director to do that, but she can't, so she was mad. And then our folks, that worked on this. And I'd really like to point out Paula Middlebrooks back here, who has actually been in nationally renowned and now internationally renowned. She's a step above you now, Greg.
Steps.
Well, yeah, okay, big steps. But her effectiveness in her outreach and implementation of brownfields in rural communities. So it's really exciting, and it just makes me so proud to have such talented folks like that on our team. And now I know I'm going to get in trouble because I see Donnie sitting next to her. I see all our other people out there. Sorry, I'm leaving your names out. Get me later. Yeah. But I will say thanks, Paula, for really helping Bolivar at this point. And Bolivar is certainly a pioneer in brownfield cleanup for rural Tennessee. Y'all are going to be the example of our Brownfield Reinvestment Act. And we're going to see these contaminated projects that need cleanup and can be viable redevelopment, park space, or things like that. A couple years ago, Greg and I were sitting in front of Governor Lee, and he challenged us. I think Greg, I heard, can you talk a little better than that?
Yep.
And I was like, it wasn't going to take it. And he really challenged us to look at this in a bigger picture.
Yep.
And thank you, Governor, for challenging us on that and allow us to get to the place that we are today, so we can do this kind of work. Greg, Steve, Sanders, Steve, where are you?
There he
Right
is.
here, yeah. Great work with the Division of Remediation, bringing this to fruition, and pulling the legislation together and ideas together to make this work. As a result of that, Governor Lee and the General Assembly put $75 million toward this across the state for state Superfund sites, brownfield redevelopment, things like that. This is incredible. Greg was just in Arlington, Virginia, right next to DC, and these other states are just so jealous of how well we are doing this kind of work. And so that's something that we're proud of. We want to lead. We've been challenged to lead, and we are leading. We're here for the other states. So we also talk to key stakeholders, local officials, developers, business leaders about how the state can be more equipped to help enable these rural communities to get back on their feet and redevelop some of these brownfield sites. And we needed more tools in our toolbox, more attractive incentives to spur cleanup and beneficial reuse. And to that end, I want to thank the General Assembly members so much for the support of this. And I don't think it's often that it goes to both houses. It passes unanimously in both houses. That's an extraordinary occurrence. So I want to thank you for that leadership. So what our Brownfield Redevelopment Area Grants Program, or BRAG program, is going to do is going to have positive environmental successes and outcomes, reduce the risk that's posed to human health, and returns properties to marketable use, and also provides direct funding to the community so they can do that. And we want to be involved with Governor Lee and the legislators today for a ceremonial bill signing, which we will do here in a little bit. But why Bolivar? I'm a West Tennessean. I didn't grow up here, but I lived out here 30 years. I remember our first cabinet meeting. The governor went around the room and said, "How many of y'all cabinet members are from West Tennessee?" And I think we had like it was close to 50%. He's like, "I don't hear it anymore." We are West Tennessee is well represented, and we certainly try to do that. And we know West Tennessee, and it's wonderful. And thanks for that opportunity from him. But Bolivar is a great example for what other communities in Tennessee can be like when they step up there and they take that leadership to do that. And we're really proud of that. And for us, we envision that this act and BRAG is going to enable more Bolivars around Tennessee and for years to come. And with this program, we're going to have some flexibility, financial resources, technical expertise, and liability protection to help act as that catalyst for property redevelopment. Another reason we came to Bolivar is because of the local commitment that we mentioned earlier. And our department includes a Recreation Resources Division that's responsible for awarding local park and recreation fund grants to cities and counties willing to invest in their outdoor recreation assets. And these are competitive dollars. Every year, we gave out $26 million in this last round. Every year, we have more requests than we have money to give out. It's a tough program. And Marshall runs that for us. Thank you, Ann, for doing such a great job. It's easy to say you're $602,000. It's hard to say you didn't get it. And so, One of the things that we do like to see is the recreation development corridor from Sand Beach Lake, and it's going to go all the way down to the old tannery site and along the Hatchie River, where there's an existing city park with a park float put in, and there's going to be an amphitheater, and there's going to be a pavilion. So it's going to be awesome. So one of the things that we celebrate today in this connection is we recognize the combination of things that come together, meaningful assistance and guidance that we can provide sometimes, and move that forward, and significant state resources for these really good ideas in this redevelopment and recreation. And then we bring the local leadership that comes in and makes it all happen. I used the word earlier to describe Mayor McTizzet as passion, and he certainly brings a lot of that. And I'm inspired by that energy and excitement. I see it here from him, and the difference that y'all are making here at Bolivar. And I do believe passion is key to success in life, and there is no doubt that Governor Bill Lee brings a real passion for service to his job and a true love for Tennessee and all Tennesseans. One of the most beautiful things I saw, Mayor Paulson came to my 2 daughters, gave him a card, and they met him at the door and they gave him 2 cards. The governor's down there with him in the picture, and you just see the love for these kids and the community, and it was wonderful. So I think his care for Tennesseans and Tennessee is reflected in so many ways, and our department is so blessed to be a key partner with him as we help to implement his dynamic conservation strategy for all of Tennessee. Governor Lee and the General Assembly have been responsible for historic level capital and maintenance investments in our state park system, record level funding for state Superfund site cleanup and redevelopment, and extraordinary investment. I'm talking over $1 billion in critical water infrastructure for Tennessee communities. This is truly a historic moment for conservation in Tennessee, and we are fortunate to have Bill Lee as our governor. So it is my honor to introduce my boss and your governor, Governor Bill Lee.
Team at Department of Environment and Conservation, thank you for your work. It's an honor to work alongside each one of you, and we do work that changes people's lives. And a lot of times people don't even know the work that we're doing, but I do. I know what you're doing, and I'm grateful for it. So thank y'all for inviting me. Mayor, when you said, why in the world would you come to Bolivar? Why would I not? I do love rural Tennessee. My first executive order did require TDEC and every department of state to give me a strategy for how they were going to improve the lives of people that live in rural communities. That was EO #1. And so when we see, by the way, when you see a community that invests in itself, I mean, this is a jewel, this little spot, and it is one indication of what the people in this community believe about themselves and about the value of this town. When you see that, it inspires others to do the same. By the way, I'm really pleased about this. When I came into office, we had 15 counties that were designated by the Appalachian Regional Commission, sort of a federal designation as being economically distressed. That means they fall in the lower 10% of counties in the country. We had 15 of those. Today, we have 8. And I'm hoping by the time I get out of here, we're going to be really close to 0. Because what happens in rural Tennessee matters to every Tennessean. It's incredibly important that we make investments in communities like this. And the state doesn't do that. I mean, I can talk about it and elevate the conversation, but it's you that make your community successful. And you're doing it. And I'm proud. I'm proud to be here today. I'm grateful for what's happening. A couple things, the grant for the parks, but also this not wanting to see TDEC come to your town. When I first got elected, so I used to be in the construction business, and I didn't like TDEC So when I got elected and I chose a commissioner, we sat down and said, you know what, let's change that. Like, there is no reason why we can't actually partner to create a balance. That balance of economic development and preservation and conservation, those two things can happen at the same time. You can rightly and responsibly create economic development and growth and prosperity and investments in infrastructure, and you can have both. You don't have to choose one or the other. And it takes an agency that understands that and that says, we do want to be partners. We actually want to partner and help, because you want the same thing we do for your community. You want economic development, and you want protection of the community itself, so it lasts to your children, Mayor, and to your children's children. So, and that's the motive for me behind what's happening here today. We're actually on what I would call a conservation tour, where we're traveling across the state, celebrating the things that have been true about Tennessee for forever, and will only be true about Tennessee if we invest in them. It's been true forever that this is one of the most beautiful places in the world. That the natural resources that we have, and the beauty of the land, and the uniqueness of our land, that's always existed. But it won't exist if we don't invest in the future. And this tannery, example, where it once was a thriving, important business here, and it was that moment in time when it was announced that it was going to close. It was devastating, and people lose their jobs. That moment not only was devastating from the standpoint that people were going to lose their jobs and the business was going to shut down, but then that site is left to become a blight on the community and on the environment and on the natural resources that exist in this community. So you had double, you had double trouble with the closing of that. But Mayor, you also talked about how we should thank God for His timing. I actually say all the time, God's a redeemer, and He takes what is bad, and if we allow Him to, He turns it into what is good. This is a redemption story. This site that once reclaimed and resolved from an environmental toxicity standpoint, it will be good. It will be a good site, a good place, and a redemptive story for this community, one of many that's happening. So I'm excited about this move toward conservation that we've made. We have put $400 million into the expansion and restoration of parks just this year. We've done more up to this year. This year's budget was that. It created 4 new state parks, 3 new state natural areas, more trails across 4 new trails across our state. We're investing in this brownfield reduction, 175 of these such sites in our state, and our grandchildren's children are going to be glad that we made the decision to clean this up. They deserve to have a state that has the beauty and natural resources, the one that we inherited, and it'll only happen if we do the right thing going forward. So we're investing in that. I just recently held an environmental and conservation summit, bringing together stakeholders of all kinds around the issues that matter for the preservation of our natural resources here. Because what we did in last year's legislature, and thank you, Johnny Shaw, for your leadership, for your continued leadership, your love for your community, your passion for it. A great partner, a great representative for you, and very proud to work alongside you with that. And Senator Wally, who is not here, but represents the district well. We did great things last year in the General Assembly in partnership with them, but this conservation effort is not gonna stop. Between now and the time I leave here, this is an effort that we're gonna continue to invest in. And our department is gonna continue to partner with communities all across the state to make sure that Tennessee continues to be the most beautiful state in the country. I'm as proud as I can be of what y'all are doing in this town and in this community and in this county. And I'm proud of what our team is doing to partner with you to make it better. So thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Those are inspiring words, Governor. Thank you so much. I'd like to invite our distinguished elected officials to the stage. Come on, mayors and representative, and come on up here. You're representing Senator Wiley. Steve, Larry. Come on, guys, get up there. Seriously. Go ahead.
Are we ready? All right, here's how you'll watch me.
Very good.
Here we go, I have it, it just looks better. Otherwise you'd be staring at the camera. All right, here we go.
Right here, everybody. Very good. Couple more. Couple more here, guys.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks.
All right, good. Where do you want me to direct everybody, Dave?
If you'll direct us around front, we'll get the governor with Ann and Commissioner and Greer and Representative Shaw and Mayor. Y'all are pretty smart. We'll come down here and we'll take the check presentation right in front of the sand beach.
Oh, are y'all supposed to go this way?
They go this way.
You get it? All right.
That was the sign, and this is the money. This is the money part.
All right, man, can you, Commissioner, can you get that? I'll move this out of the way.
Yeah, Centennial said Kansas said he'll cash it today.
All right, everybody, let's gather around here. Y'all just squeeze in there. You want to start? Y'all look at him. He's going to start us off. Okay. There you go. There you are, right here. All right. 2, 1. Good. Okay. Here we go, guys. Right here. That's great. Anybody else?
I'd like to.
I feel like we need some music here.
Same for us. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
All this.
Oh, I think the name
I got an attitude too. I like food.
Thank you so much.